it was a remarkable draft of 2006 that really put in place the success that the Saints enjoyed for nearly a decade under Sean Payton. Drew Brees, of course, came along as a free agent that year, and the draft, of course, pretty much did the rest, and you saw the results of what the Saints were able to produce. Ken Trahan, sportsNOLAtv, and of course that's the hope moving forward, that the Saints can once again strike it rich in the NFL draft, because that's what is to come here soon. The NFL draft and the New Orleans Saints and their draft selections in the draft obviously are going to be picks that they need to hit on. Here they are with the selections they have. 12th overall, then a second, third, fourth, fifth round pick, and then a 7th round pick. The 6th round pick was traded to the Redskins. So you got 6 picks going in, Ricky, and obviously the number 12 pick overall. It's not the ideal position, but it's a good position to get a very good player.
Well, I mean, you really need a good pass rusher. I mean, and that's what the Saints need. They need a good guy can come off the corner. You can see what a good pass rusher can do just looking at the Super Bowl, and that's what the Saints need. They need a game change on defense.
Yeah, I would agree totally. That would be my number one target area, of course, would be you've got to get after the quarterback. The deficiencies in defense over the last 3 or 4 years has shown remarkably in that area. So, you know, and we know, we've talked about it in the show oftentimes, is that you put a pass rush on a quarterback, you take him out of his comfort zone. It certainly helps all the cornerbacks and all your DBs that have to stick with their men. So that's their number one priority, in my opinion, too, Rick.
I guess the question would be, why have they not had success in the draft most recently? They've changed a lot of people here over the past couple of years. Scouts, scouting director, assistant GM. The constants are Ricky Loomis and Sean Payton. So, Ricky, obviously they've made some of these changes. By making change, they're telling you that either A, the guys we had weren't giving us good information, or B, we got to pass it on to somebody else because ultimately they're going to blame it on us.
Well, I mean, those guys, they want to pick the guys that come here. They're the guys that have all the say-so over whoever come here. So whoever the Saints have on their roster is Mickey and Coach Payton. Last decision to have them here. So, you know, you can only put the blame on your shoulder when things don't work. And just like when it works, you get all the credit when it don't work. So, I mean, that goes to those two guys.
You know, the dilemma for me is this, is that we're assuming that Drew Brees, we'll give him 2 to 3 more years. So the window is closing with him. You know, generally speaking, you're not going to get that immediate help out of a rookie or out of a draft class for an elite pass rusher. So, you know, ideally you'd like them to have enough money to go after and at least compete for an elite pass rusher. And I'm not sure that they're going to be able to do that again this year. So, you know, you have to strike it, even with a second-tier free agent guy, somebody that can get after the quarterback. So we'll see what they do.
Well, they're not going to spend money in free agency. That's pretty clear.
Yeah.
The big-ticket items are off the table. Anything they do in free agency is going to be a contributor, somebody that's a supporting cast guy, Ricky. They've gone the route of trying to sign guys like Bird and Browner most recently, and that hasn't worked.
No, I mean, because they don't fit the system. And then I didn't never think those guys were good enough, you know, to come in and give you what you was looking for. I mean, I look at Browner, he's a good player from where he was at when he was at Seattle and stuff. But for us, Bird, you know, with Buffalo, it was pretty decent. But to help the Saints go to the next level, I didn't see that in those guys.
And most recently, Spiller would be another example, Rick.
Yeah, I mean, well, you're taking guys that you think that can still play, but to me, they kind of passed them by a little bit.
Fine.
Well, Kenny, I think you hit on it early in this discussion, is that, you know, they've done a pretty good job picking offensive players down through the years, be it free agency or in the draft, and they've missed on more than they've hit on defense, and it does make you wonder how much input, or good input, are they getting from their scouting department. And you know, these guys, they're not trying to do this to fail, okay? They're doing this to win and to be successful in their picks. So, but there has been some dysfunctional thing going on here when it comes to picking up good defensive players. And again, I go back to the salary cap situation when it comes to free agency. You know, you're getting second, third tier guys because you're prevented from going after elite defensive players in free agency.
Well, with regard to last year's draft, you have to take a look at where you're at right now as compared to where you might be ultimately, because you're not sure.
Yeah.
Andrus Peat, that's going to have a lot to do with whether this was a successful draft or not. Anthony looks like he'll be fine. Kikaha has a chance.
Right.
Grayson, we don't know. P.J. Williams never got on the field. He was injured. Swan looks like he's got a chance, but the injuries to his head are a serious concern. Marcus Murphy, another one. So we're really not sure right now about last year's draft, are we?
No, and then again, and there's the guys that are supplemented, the CFL guys, okay? Those are the guys that Delvin Breaux, those are the guys that are going to have to come up and contribute. And Delvin, shows that he's got potential, and hopefully he'll stay healthy and it will continue. But they've got to get additional help, and if they're going to take care of this window that's open right now, they've got to do it in a hurry.
And I really think one position that, we know we got one of the best quarterbacks in football, but I look at last year and I just look at that, we drafted a guy, the third quarterback in the draft, and he didn't get a chance to play not one play the whole year. And that was a position I would like to see what our future would have looked like, for us when Drew, passed by. But right now, you really don't know what it looked like because he didn't get a chance to show you anything.
No, you really don't. Now, as far as the NFL calendar is concerned, coming up, you've got the NFL Scouting Combine. This is always a great place to take a look at potential players for your organization. And here is the Combine schedule. Offensive linemen, running back specialists on Friday, then the QBs, wide receivers, tight ends, followed by the Sunday group, including defensive linemen and linebackers, where Ricky will be watching closely, and then, of course, defensive backs next Monday. So when you look at that schedule, it's always an interesting place, Ricky, for top talent to gather. Not all the guys that are going to make an impact are going to be there. We've seen that history suggests that, but at the same time, the preponderance of guys that are going to make rosters will be at the Combine.
Yeah, and a lot of those guys, I always said that, a lot of guys can perform good at the Combine, but that don't mean that they're great football players, I've seen a lot of guys can run 4.5, but when they get on the football field, they get up to 4.7 or 4.8 because they don't have that same attitude. But my thing is, I go there looking for football players, guys who I know can do it. Even a case like Jerry Rice. I mean, you say he run a 4.7, but you get a guy run a 4.4 and he run by him, So you're looking for football players too.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, we talk about workout warriors and guys that score well at the Combine and stuff like that. The Combine is one of these great areas to where you can talk with guys behind closed doors, and then the medical examinations that they get is so critical to the whole part and parcel of developing and recruiting kids and scouting kids, I should say. And so that's all part of it. But you're right. I mean, you don't want to be fooled by it because it's just one piece of the whole puzzle that you're collecting at the Combine.
And Johnny Manziel is a good example.
Yeah.
I mean, you go in, you think the guy got problems, you talk to him, and you kind of seem like you think you're iron stuff out. And then when you get a guy on your team, you see that, the guy have problems.
Terran Armstead was a good guy. He turned out to be turned in one of the fastest 40 times for a tackle. We all know that you don't have to do a 40 for a tackle, but it shows you what kind of athlete.
Yeah, he was as fast as we've ever seen. Now, in terms of a good example of a guy that slipped through the cracks because of numbers, Sammy Knight. When you're talking about the Saints, there's a guy that he didn't get drafted, but that was all about the fact he didn't run fast. He's just a great playmaker and player, as we saw with the Saints and beyond. Now, the Combine will include 9 players from the state of Louisiana that are going to be there, including LSU's big offensive tackle, Vidal Alexander. Louisiana Tech with 3, including Butler, Dixon, and Driscoll, the quarterback. LSU also has Gerald Hawkins, another fine offensive player on tackle. And, of course, Debo Jones out of Jesuit High School, whose stock is rising, by the way. He can run. And then you got Harlan Miller out of Southeastern, Jalen Mills, the safety, Rashad Robinson, the quarterback of LSU. So a lot of guys to watch from LSU, but maybe the name most interesting on that list to me, Brian, is Debo Jones out of Jesuit, because here's a guy that for whatever reason, John Chavis didn't like him. Had him on special teams for 3 years. Senior becomes a starter, and all of a sudden he's like, wow, where's this guy been? He's like, he shot out of a cannon. He's been there the whole time.
Yeah.
He's an undersized outside linebacker who runs like the wind. There's a place for a guy like that in the NFL.
Absolutely. If no other place, Kenny, on special teams to start out with, but you're right. He's got the kind of speed, and he showed that during this past season. He is one of those kids. Another kid is Kenny Dixon, too, from La Tech. who was under Jabbar Jalouk for a while and stuff like that. So, you know, there's a good back. Now, they don't need backs at Saints, but he's a good back.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, like you said, Kenny, he can run, and that's what they're looking for. I mean, even, you know, if you look at Miller, he's not a real big guy, but he can come off the corner, and he got speed.
I love
that's
it.
what you're looking for.
I would like the Saints
Yep.
to take a serious look at him if they get to him in the 3rd round. Tom Benson, of course, continuing to own the Saints and Pelicans. He also, along with his wife Gail, owns horses and a big Risen Star Stakes at Fairgrounds this past weekend. His 2 horses didn't quite get there, but Mo Tom made a good run. Look at him on the outside. He had the most hearts at the end. Gets up for 3rd, but late as Gunrunner wins under Steve Asmussen's leadership. And therefore, you can look for Gunrunner in the Kentucky Derby. But certainly Mo Tom is on course to be able to make that big race.
Yeah, another furlong there, and you wonder if Motown would have taken over Forerunner. But yeah, it's exciting to have a Derby eligible horse or almost eligible horse locally.
Yeah, Tom's ready. Had trouble out of the gate, never recovered, finished 8th. We'll see about his future as well. Remains to be seen, but indeed, at least some interest heading into the first Saturday of May in this horse racing year. Well, we are brought to you by our good and great friends at Premier Honda, where they're more than your typical car dealership. Premier Honda believes in teamwork, integrity, and delivering impeccable quality to create the best experience in purchasing a car. No other dealership offers home delivery and a lifetime warranty. Premier Honda, New Orleans, at 11801 East I-10 in New Orleans East. Stop in and visit today. Shop online at premierhonda.com and have your test drive delivered to you. Either way, you will be treated like family. The Pelicans and a record-breaking performance when we continue on Sports NOLA TV.